Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us on another episode of the Morrison Podcast. Today, we have with us Travis Comstock. Travis, why don't you tell us about yourself and what area you specialize in?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your listeners. My name's Travis Comstock. I'm originally from Ohio, Columbus, Ohio area. Went to school at WVU, West Virginia University in Morgantown, West Virginia. From there, I quickly got into pharmaceutical sales and medical device sales. Most of my career was spent in Columbus, Ohio, before moving to Chicago in 2010, where I've lived for 11 years before kind of opening up a new chapter last year, relocating to Costa Rica, pursuing a career in real estate, and really doing what I want to do, living where I want to live, and having a blast doing it. So we reside, my fiance and our Weimaraner dog, in Jaco, which is Central Pacific Coast, literally the ocean in the front yard and the mountains in the backyard. So it's good.
That's beautiful. So how did you decide to become a real estate agent?
Really, I dabbled in real estate back when I was doing pharmaceutical sales. So I kind of already had an appreciation for real estate. Back then, I mainly did rental properties, kind of a landlord. So dabbled in that a little bit. And then when we started coming to Costa Rica, I networked with a lot of the realtors who are already here. Some of them were from California, some of them were local Ticos. And basically over time, just decided to pick up and try it. It was one of those things where we're like, we need to retire there and then, maybe get a place now and retire there. And then sitting through COVID, I think that changed a lot, not only for us, but a lot of people. And it was like, you know what, if we're going to do it, let's do it now. So, medical device is great because you get to help patients out. You literally do. And here it's also great too, because you're helping people realize a dream. You're helping them get to somewhere they want to be, whether that's, an oceanfront condo or somewhere in the mountains, in a great country.
Perfect. And how did you select Costa Rica as your destination of choice?
It's kind of what you hear from a lot of people. Came down here, we've traveled Europe, came down here as well. And this place just kept drawing us back. And each time we kind of checked a new area of Costa Rica. And I would say, it's a combination of everything. The locals here are great. The scenery is just beautiful. Literally, there's something to do for everyone. There's different microclimates. There's volcano regions, there's beaches. So just fell in love with it. The kind of the slowness is a little appealing too, a little slower than the pace coming out of Chicago. So a little bit refreshing there. And then, as you know, being from Toronto, it's just how many winters can you take? I mean, just getting pounded. So that really helped to also come down here where it's hot as heck, but yeah, I'll take it. The sun is shining every day.
Yeah. Now, are you close to the Corcovado rainforest?
Not too close. We're actually about an hour and a half from San Jose, about 20 minutes, hour and a half from the airport. Pacific side. What's nice about being centrally located, though, is within a day's trip, you can go north Guanacaste area, you can cross the ferry, check out beaches like Santa Teresa. You can go south to Oviedo, where the jungle hits the mountains. So being centrally located is great for kind of having everything within arm's reach.
Perfect. That's great. That's awesome. Because it's funny, I have been to Costa Rica many, many, many years ago. I remember flying into San Jose. I went to the Corcovado, where the rainforest was. There was a tent camp there. I stayed there, and I remember going to the Arenal volcano to check that out, checked out some sort of coffee thing. But I loved it. It was a beautiful place for sure.
No, it is. And Arenal's, I mean, it's breathtaking. The hot springs right there, and then the volcano. I mean, it's a cool spot to visit for sure. I often recommend that to people who are coming into Costa Rica to check that out and then go to the beach of their choice, kind of get the best of both worlds while you're here.
Right. No, absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about what is the market doing in your area? What is it like for purchasing and selling, as well as what's the rental market like there?
It's strong and it's steady, at least in the Central Pacific. Really, we don't experience extreme highs like in the States, and I'll compare a lot of this to the United States where I'm from, but we don't experience extreme highs when the United States is experiencing it. And likewise, we're not at the lows. A lot of that is because it's a cash market, so it's really not so dependent on what the interest rate's doing or how much panic there is with the feds, increasing the interest rates, et cetera. We are cooling down from COVID. COVID was absolutely nuts here. Inventory was completely sold out. And similar to what kind of happened to me in Chicago, when COVID happened, you're stuck. You're on top of one another. We were living in a 2-bedroom condo. Nothing was open. We weren't allowed to go outside to the harbor. I mean, you guys lived through it as well. But
Yeah.
real, we were fortunate because we had a lake cabin to go to, so we kind of escaped. And that's exactly what people in San Jose did. Inside the city with 1.5 million people, same thing. They felt the urge to have a place where they could go, where it was a little bit spread out, a little more private on the beach, whether it be in the mountain, just away from it all. So they started buying a lot more properties in the area where I'm focused. And then when the borders opened up, look out, here came the Canadians, the Americans, the Europeans, and everyone is kind of buying, buying, buying. So of course it's cooled down from there, but it remains strong and it remains steady.
Perfect. No, that's great. That's awesome. And so what's the price range, would you say, for properties there? Like you're saying it's not as expensive as sort of where the market that you were in the US, but what is the price range?
Yeah, so I would say you get way more bang for your dollar. You get a lot more here for your dollar. Really, price range depends on where you're at. I know that's a generic answer, but it depends if you want to be on the beach, if you want to be a block off the beach, if you want to be in the mountains, if you want to have a condo, if you want to have a villa. I will say here in Jaco on the beach, I'll just use kind of a two
Yeah.
bedroom, two bath. It's the great thing is there's a price range for every budget. There's a condo I'm thinking of right now, block off the beach for 130,000, two bedroom, two bath. And then I know, right? and then right down the beach, there's a exclusive penthouse that my brokerage has, and that's 1.3 million. So, you get drastic changes up in the hills, like in Hermosa Jaco Hills. There's huge villas and those can be multi-million. So like I said, that's cool because there's a little bit of everything for everyone, depending on, what you're at and how much you want to spend. And if you're going to call it your permanent home or just use that as a vacation rental.
And so what is the rental market like there? Like
It,
are people renting places to stay a lot, or how easy is it as an investor to rent your place out?
it's fairly easy, and that's just because here in central in Jaco, it's there's so much tourist coming here. We have so many visitors coming. It's the closest beach to San Jose, so it makes natural sense to check out Jaco. I already mentioned it's close to the city itself, so you get a lot of people coming over. Locals. Really, if you were to buy a condo kind of on the beach, we expect about a 70% occupancy rate throughout the year. We have 2 seasons, which we can get into, but on the off season, it's about 2 bedroom, two bath, $185 to about $200 per night. And then in the high season, which we're in right now, anywhere from 250 to 350. And that really depends on the amenities.
That's great. That sounds like a great return for an investor based on, what you have to spend and how much you can make for it.
It really is. And, it's kind of like a lifestyle investment. People are using it themselves. They're coming down here. They get comfortable with it. They enjoy Costa Rica. They know they're going to come enough to enjoy it. And then they're going to rent it when they're not using it, have that income coming in. And then on the flip side, they're going to ride that appreciation train, as you alluded to.
And what about any other trends that you're noticing in that market right now?
It's interesting. It's kind of like it's not really a buyer's market or a seller's market. It's kind of even kill at the moment. That's one of the things we're noticing. One of the interesting things is with sellers, they can afford to hang on a bit longer. I mentioned it's a cash market, so
Yeah.
a lot of the sellers, they don't have to get out under a mortgage, so they can wait for their offer to come in close to what they want. And a lot of times they're commanding that price.
And you mentioned it is a cash market. Is that because it's impossible to get a mortgage as a foreigner?
No, it's not. It's a whole nother conversation. It's definitely possible. It's hard. It can be tricky. It can be time consuming. Mostly what we're seeing, again, it's not impossible though. There's ways to do it. But the three things that we're seeing are people coming with cash and doing a cash offer. Or what I'm really starting to see a lot is equity in the States, people doing a home equity line of credit and using that money to buy their place, using that rent to pay back that monthly payment. So that seems to be ideal for a lot of people. And then there's a self-directed IRA, which I can talk a little bit about, but I'd rather let the accountants and the advisors kind of talk about that one. But there is a way to do that, and that's becoming popular as well as a way to secure the funds to buy an investment property.
Amazing. And what are the flight prices like right now, or the grocery prices there? How is that affecting the market? Are, flight prices and grocery prices there just as expensive as they are for us in North America right now?
We're seeing it. I think it's a worldwide thing. I think the grocery prices, you're shocked when you go in the States and look at them. We're shocked when we go here to look at them. Utilities seem to be up. Prices in general, flights, they kind of fluctuate. They're lower than they were a little bit ago. And I think you got to start early. I think jump on it as soon as they're available. And then the interest rates really. So no, we haven't really seen the prices affect, from groceries perspective or flights really affect people from buying here. They're still doing it. With regards to interest rates, there's always kind of a panic worldwide when the Feds raise the interest rates. And we predicted there'd be a slowdown here, but there really hasn't been. People are, coming. It's a secondary market and, they're buying.
Perfect. That's awesome. So can you take us through what does the process look like for someone to actually purchase a property there? What are the steps? What do they need to know? What do they have to do?
Yeah, I've good experience in this because I've done it in the States and I've done it here. And honestly, they're very similar. First and foremost, work with a reputable agent who's going to be ethical, who's going to walk you through the process, who's going to, works for a good brokerage. So look for me. And then really you spend time looking for that house. And once you find what you're looking for, whether it be a house or a condo, you make the offer, you go through the negotiations. The offer is accepted, and then you hire an attorney to go through the due diligence process. So that's all taken care of on the attorney level. And you do hire a third-party escrow company where they hold all the funds. So neither brokerage holds any of the funds. And then from there, it's a closing, and then the deed is transferred to the National Registry and recorded there. So very simple.
So are the documents all in Spanish or are they in English?
They're registered in Spanish. I like to see like a translation. So when I'm signing something, I personally like to see it in English, but Spanish trumps the English here when it comes to documents, and that's what's recorded.
Do you speak Spanish?
I'm good. I'm going through lessons right now. I'm probably failing, but I'm guilty though, because I can start to hear it, and it makes sense. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to practice it today. I'm not going to revert back to English. And where we live, in a tourist coastal beach town, a lot of the locals here speak English. So I'll start in Spanish and then they'll kind of help me out and they'll talk in English. And the next thing you know, I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll take a cheeseburger. So I quickly revert back to the English language when I shouldn't be, but we are getting lessons and I'm excited to learn it. I think that's just going to help us more, get more inundated in the community and help the communication with some of the sellers here who are hoping to sell their homes that don't speak English.
Absolutely. Check out Duolingo. That app is actually amazing.
Absolutely. I think we're working all angles. We even have it's kind of ironic because we have a Spanish professor and she's actually living in Chicago. So we move all the way here in our, but no, it was a recommendation, a referral, and she's awesome. So Perfect. We do twice a week for about a month now. So it's good. It's going good.
Awesome. So in terms of, in the market like Mexico, for example, when you purchase there, you don't actually get to own title to your property. But in other markets in the Caribbean, yes, you do own title to your property. So how does it work in Costa Rica? Do you actually get title?
And that's a great point to bring up. So only about 5% of the country on the beach, you can get titled beachfront property. 95% of the country is not that way. So you have the maritime law. So anything 200 meters from the high tide from the beach is really normally going to be a government concession or a government lease. So one of the reasons why Jaco is doing so well and kind of why I chose to come here is our beach and kind of the surrounding beaches near Jaco is fully titled beachfront property. So it's not to say that concession or the lease property is bad, as you alluded to. It's kind of worldwide. It's not a new phenomenon and it's not bad, but a lot of people really prefer, because they're used to it, to having titled beachfront property or titled property in general.
There's another area down there that I've heard of. It's called Nasara or Nasaro. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly.
Sorry, you got it.
So yeah, what about that area? Is that government leased? Do people get to own property by the beach? How does that work there?
I'm not an expert in that area. If I had to guess, I think it might be leased property if it's, again, within 200 meters, but I am not 100% sure. So I don't want anyone to listen to this and be like, what? So just know most of the country is not titled beachfront property. It is leased. And that's one of the advantages with Central Pacific Coast is you can find that titled beachfront property.
Interesting. So then you took us through the buying process. What's the process if you want to sell a property there? How does that work?
So it's probably very similar to what you're used to. There's a listing appointment. Obviously, the seller has the option whether they want to go exclusive with one agency or to keep it an open listing where they have multiple agents trying to sell their property. It's important for the seller to be up to date with their corporation. Most properties that are owned here by a foreigner are tied into a corporation. So you have to be current on your taxes. Also, if you want to sell, you obviously have to be current on your utilities. It's just good for the seller to be prepared. That way, if a quick offer comes in, you don't have to waste time.
Right.
One of the interesting things here and something to think about is, in a town that has so many visitors coming, Airbnb, the Verbo market, vacation rental is very strong here. So for someone trying to sell their property during the peak season, which we need to get into what that is, it can be challenging because they don't want to interrupt their renters. And I get that. But at the same time, how can you show a property when you have renters in there pretty much every day? So
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my broker and, she had an awesome idea and they just actually sold a house when they had that same issue or they sold a condo and they basically talked the owner into leaving it open for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. It could be turned over on Monday and Tuesday could be the showings. And lo and behold, it worked and he sold his property and he was still able to rent it, for the most part during the listing period.
Right. Interesting. You mentioned something there about corporations. So do people generally own their properties in the name of a corporation or in their own name, and why?
You can, and it seems to be changing, always changing. A lot of people open up an LLC and register it there, and kind of that a lot of times is just for insurance purposes, liability purposes. Also, with the corporation, you can add different shareholders to it. That's easy to do. You can also buy it using your passport. That's easy to do as well. If you buy it in your name, supposedly, I believe you can get residency a little bit quicker. Whereas a corporation, I believe, and it's changing again, but I believe it's harder to apply for residency if you're buying it through a corporation. But
Hmm.
both are avenues you can go down.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned earlier about how cheap it was to get something on the beach for a condo, but in terms of the price difference between houses versus condos, what's the cheapest house I could get in a decent tourist area?
One comes to mind that I just saw 150,000.
Oh,
And it's close to the beach, about a block off the beach. Beautiful, make for an excellent vacation rental home. The other thing I'm starting to see is more people moving up into the mountain range. So you have the ocean view up there. It's certainly cooler up there, and you can
yeah.
come down for the beach and enjoy the day. Hako's got so much to do. There's restaurants, bars. There's a variety of everything for everyone. So a lot of people are kind of getting away from the hot beach, though, going a little bit higher, but still utilizing the beach. And properties up in the mountains, there's a lot of land that you can build. Again, I've seen kind of container homes for 150,000, and then I've seen villas for 4, 5, 6 million. So it all
Wow.
varies on how much you want to spend and where you want to be.
And are people moving up towards the mountain because are they concerned about sort of the beach receding? Is there a concern about climate change? Is that what's going on?
Nope, I haven't heard any fear that's pushing people away. I honestly think it's just what you want. I think some people, once they retire, they get older in life, they can feel like they can live more remote. They don't need to live like we're living right now in a mid-rise building with, a lot of people around us. And we like that. We're used to that. And it doesn't bother us. There's so much we can do and walk to. Other people, they come and they like it, but they're like, if I'm going to live here, I don't want it to be this hot every day. I'd rather get a cool breeze. I'd rather be a little bit higher with an ocean view. So I get it. That's what's cool is there's everything for everyone.
Hmm. And so what would be considered high season there for tourists?
Yeah. So high season's what we're in right now. It runs from December through Easter all the way to April. High season is also known as the dry season. There are 3 peak weeks during the high season, and that's going to be your week of Easter, your week of Christmas, your New Year's week, and then also your week of Easter. And then the other months, which would be April to December, are going to be your rainy season.
Right.
It's important to point out, though, that here in Hako, at least I can speak to Hako, that it's kind of like a Florida. I compare the rainy season to Florida a little bit, which a lot of Canadian listeners will understand what I'm talking about because there's a lot of Canadians in Florida. But what it is it's sun. You have sun every day, right? It's hot. And then in the afternoon, maybe about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, Here comes a shower. It can be a hard shower, usually not too long of a shower. Cools
Mhm.
things off, it makes everything green, and then it's consistently dark here about 5:30. So I mean, it cools things off, and then the night comes. Next morning, you're almost guaranteed to see sun. So I wouldn't let that scare people from visiting during the rainy season. And in
Right.
fact, you can get a lot better deals on flights and hotels. I will say the least visited month would be October, and that's primarily because that is the rainiest month.
Hmm. Interesting. That's very similar with Barbados. That's where I happen to have my vacation property. And everything you said about the seasons and even the rainy season timing is very
Exactly.
similar with Barbados too.
It's almost like now it's more of the just blazing heat, but in the rainy season, it's still hot. You just get more of that humidity. So
Hmm.
honestly, we were smart and got a vehicle that can take us up in the mountains. So we we go to the beach in the mornings, and we go up in the mountains in the afternoon just to kind of cool off and enjoy the views. So
Beautiful.
best of the worlds.
Hmm. So then talk to me a little bit about nightly or weekly rates that you're seeing for rentals.
Yeah,
Or
I think in Hako, two bed, two bath, right during that high season, from December to April, it's going to be probably about 250 to 350. A lot of that will just depend on the amenities, how close you are to the beach, what your photos look like, what your view looks like. Does it have a pool? Is there a restaurant, in the condo? Where is it situated, on the beach? And then in the low season, your vacancy rate is going to go up a little bit, obviously. Not as many people traveling from the States and Canada and Europe, but
right.
you're still seeing a lot of travelers come. And that's going to be about 185 to 200 a night. And again, I'm just basing this off what I'm seeing Airbnb, Verbo, two bedroom, two bath in Hako. There's
And
areas surrounding Hako that are, phenomenal as well. Different price points, but Los Sueños is a great marina here, very high end. Villa is a nice golf course. Hermosa Hako is a beach that's world famous for its surfing. It's kind of a chilled, laid back vibe. So you get a little bit of everything, which makes your price range, stretch a little bit. But for the most part, I think travelers love coming here because they don't need to spend 700, 800, 1,000 a night at some resort. They're getting a nice condo on the beach, close to everything for, a good price.
yeah, that sounds amazing. Absolutely, for sure. And so, what areas do you feel are good for investing there? I mean, I know that you're in Hako, but I mean, or is that the area that you feel that people should invest in? That's a great spot to be in.
It is. And I'm not going to, well, I'll be a little biased, but no, the Central Pacific Coast is phenomenal for many reasons. A lot of what I've already named. It's the closest beach to San Jose, which is a major city with a lot of people coming in on the weekends. Additionally, it's close to the airport. So it's not like you need to fly here and then drive 5, 6 hours to a destination that's off the beaten path with dirt roads and potholes. Fairly easy to get here.
Yep.
And it is. Haka's a thriving beach town community. There's stuff to do for all age groups. There's excursions. There's so much to do. And to give you a perspective about how many people are coming here, it's in 2024, it's supposed to be 2.3 to 2.5 million visitors, which surpasses pre-pandemic year of 2019. So a lot of those people flying into San Jose, they're coming to Hako because it is a great beach spot. And really, it's a gateway to Manuel Antonio, which has a national park there, which is absolutely gorgeous. That's where you go to see your monkeys, your sloths, your snakes, your lizards, you name it. And that's about an hour drive south of here. So a lot of people stop in Hako. Again, it's just a good spot for, if you were to do a vacation rental, Verbo, Airbnb, you're going to have a lot of traffic coming in.
Hmm. Now, do you know much about, because I know the other airport that people can fly into is Liberia.
Correct.
So, what about properties around that sort of close to up there?
Again, I would want to defer to someone in that area, like a colleague
Okay.
there, but just what I know from going up there and talking to
Yeah.
people, spend time in here, more expensive. It's definitely more expensive. I feel like here, you get a little bit more of a Costa Rican vibe. The beaches up there are absolutely gorgeous, though. They really are. And that's the cool thing about Costa Rica. You can have black sand beach and 5 beaches down, you can have white sand beach. So you get a little bit of everything. But no, Liberia Airport's certainly growing with the amount of tourists coming there, kind of checking out Costa Rica. And it's great. People come in, they check out Guanacaste province. They come down to Punta Arenas, where Haku is. They go down to Uvita. They travel the Caribbean side. And I've met so many people that come here for a couple of weeks at a time. And that's the beauty of it. It's not the easiest country to drive, but
Right.
it is only the size of West Virginia. So it is manageable to move around. Just
Perfect.
you're going to have white knuckles driving, and you're going to see it all.
Do you have like lots of friends and family coming to visit you now that you've sort of made the change and they're still living through winter?
We do. We're starting to take on more and more guests. We are not charging yet, but we do have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So my parents have come down. Courtney's parents are getting ready to come down. My aunt's coming down. We've had 2 friends come down already. So it's been good. It's kind of the conversation with them is we still have to work. I know this looks like vacation. There's the pool, there's the pool, there's the beach. Call if you need something. See you tonight for dinner. So most people are very self-sufficient and can find the pool without a problem. So, and it's also, and it's great too, because the longer we're here, we're getting a lot of connections. So I'm helping a lot of people that are coming for vacation. And, if you want a ATV ride in the mountain, I got a guy. If you want to go to Manuel Antonio to see the park, I got a tour guide. If you want to rent a car, I know a guy. If you need a driver, I got him lined up. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to help people out that way to, when they're coming for the first time. And obviously for family, it's good to know that, someone's going to be there waiting for them on time.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your wife, Courtney. What kind of job did she take on there? Is she an agent as well?
She is working healthcare IT right now for a firm that recruits consultants to go in and do big projects at the hospital level. So not much has changed from her daily work schedule. She's kind of worked remote her whole life and does a great job, enjoys it. And she's disciplined enough to stay home and ignore the sun every day and kind of, get out early in the morning, enjoy it, and then go to the beach for the sunset. But no, she's able to do that, which has been good. It's kind of been nice to have that support and backbone while I go out and, completely pursue a new career.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Anything else you think people should know about investing and buying and selling in Costa Rica before we go?
The biggest thing, honestly, and I wrote a note here, like if I didn't say it, I was going to punish myself. The taxes, the property taxes here are extremely low. They are 0.25% of the appraised value. So let's look at a $400,000 condo on the beach. Your yearly taxes are $1,000. Compare that to places I'm sure like Toronto or Chicago, where we paid 10 times that amount for a $400,000 condo.
No,
It's insane. So
you
I
know
think,
what? Toronto has very low property taxes. I think we're at about 0.64%.
okay. No, it's in the States. And when I have friends come from like California, Chicago, New York, they're blown away about how cheap the property taxes are here. And, the government does a good job. They incentivize people to come invest here, spend their money here. But no, and I keep kind of coming back to the lifestyle investment where you're buying a place for yourself, choosing to rent it if you want. That's a huge savings. And one of the biggest things here is, although it's a cash market and you have to come heavy up front, the holding costs here are extremely low. I mean, you have your low property tax, you have your utilities, and then you have your operating costs, your cleaning fee, your maintenance. But really, the holding costs are great here because they're low, and the tax structure is phenomenal for someone looking to grab a nice property, live there, don't rent it, whatever you want to do. The taxes are extremely low, so it's very favorable for a lot of people coming down.
So how easy or hard is it to find a property manager or cleaners for your property if you're doing a short-term rental?
There's enough people that you can find, and I lean heavily on the people who have been here much, much longer than me to say, who would you recommend? Who's good? But yeah, there's certainly no shortage of finding people to kind of manage the property. And that's kind of the nice thing with us being here. I don't want to take on too much. I don't want to cost a property manager, but it's nice for people that buy close to where we live that they have me here to kind of check on things, make sure things are going okay. Again, I don't want to open that can of worms for property management, but it's a nice feature to know that someone's there to kind of look after your property, like we can.
Absolutely, for sure. No, that's great. So how would people reach out to you if they've got questions, they're thinking of buying in Costa Rica? Where can they find you, Travis?
Yeah, so I was going to make sure you had that information. Feel free, anyone listening, to email me. I have a buyer's guide full of great information, probably a lot of stuff I missed today, but I'd be more than happy to get that out. So I have a US number. Do you want me to say it
Yeah,
now? So
absolutely.
it's a US number. I kept my number, Google Voice. I also have WhatsApp. So that's 1-614-499-3911. Again, that's area code 1-614-499-3911. And my email address is pretty easy. It's just travis@remax.ocr.com.
And are you
Travis.
on social media? Can they find you on Instagram or LinkedIn or?
I am. Look for Travis Sells Costa Rica, and you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube channel will be coming out very shortly here. LinkedIn for sure, Facebook, yeah. Not TikTok yet, but I'm learning that probably needs to be looked into a little bit more.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I am doing the TikTok thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's painful trying to remember to post something every day, but I'm trying. I'm trying really hard.
I know what you mean. In my past career, I didn't do a lot of posting. Our companies did, gave them
Right.
information to, but a lot of times it was more HR that kind of needed to do their own posts and not so much us. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of new to me. And same thing. I'm making a habit of doing it. I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to get out content that people find, helpful if they're coming here to visit for the first time. Where do I go? Where do I stay? So of course it's about the real estate, but obviously making that relationship with people and then following them along the path. I didn't mention also one of the things here, it's about an 18-month buying cycle for some people. They come here and going back to trend, I am kind of the trend, the way we bought here. We came, we fell in love with the country. We kicked the tires. We looked at, some listings in the window going by Remax. We visited.
Right.
Yeah. We visited again. We kicked ourselves for not buying the last time we were here. Eventually buying, eventually enjoying it, eventually renting it, eventually getting that income and riding that appreciation train. So, but it is about an 18-month cycle. So I know that seems long to a lot of people that, that are selling in quick period. But the nice thing as an agent, you really get to know your client. You get to understand exactly what they're looking for, and you can really help them find that property, hopefully in a non-rushed way.
Perfect. No, that's great. I love it. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone, today. It's been the Morrison Podcast with Travis Comstock, all the way from Costa Rica. Thanks a lot.
And really, to wrap it all up, I think it's a great time to invest in Costa Rica. International Living named Costa Rica the #1 place for retirement in 2024. Travel and Leisure just named it the Destination of the Year for 2024. And we already know we're going to see historic levels in the amount of tourist visits. All reasons to invest in Costa Rica.